All right, everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have Kelly Callaghan, one of my favorite names, first of all, on the podcast with us today. And Kelly and I have known each other for, God, it's got to almost be 4 or 5 years, which is pretty crazy. I think 2017 or 2018 is when we originally connected back in San Diego. And I remember so clearly, we went on a walk in Pacific Beach and Mission Beach. And instantly I just fell in love with your light that you shine, your positivity that you have, and the drive that you have in building your business and helping women build their businesses. So you guys, Kelly Ann is a spray tan artist trainer. She actually trains the spray tan artists. She has so many amazing tidbits and value that I'm really excited for her to share with you today. So we're going to dive right in. Kelly, I would love, first of all, thank you so much for being here and taking your time out of your day, but I would love if you can kind of just give your background, like how did you get started in the industry? How did you get started in entrepreneurship? And then we'll dive into a few deeper questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I always love chatting with you. It's always so fun.
Yep.
So I was in corporate, like a lot of people I know. I was in marketing and sales and I was excelling there. I was about 24 and I just knew in my soul that I was not meant to be in this cubicle with a headset, talking to people over the phone, living in San Diego, while just in San Diego, like it's so beautiful outside. So obviously, like during those days, you want to be able to enjoy the outside world. And it really was what motivated me to quit my job after being there for like 2 or 3 years. I was making 6 figures at this cushy corporate job. And when I quit, I was like, you know what, let me just travel for a little bit. So I did exactly what you did last year. I was like living vicariously through you. I loved it. Traveling to all these different places by myself, like meeting new people, seeing old friends, like it was great. And until about 18 months after I started traveling, I was like, all right, I don't got money anymore. So I wasn't making money during this time. I was just using everything that I had saved up. And I was, in this fork in the road. I was like, let's see, what are my options here? Either one, I can go back to my cushy corporate 6-figure job, or 2, I could do what I've always wanted and start my own business. And I've never had a business before, didn't know anybody in entrepreneurship at the time. I was just like a little infant baby with no knowing of anything. All I knew is that I wanted to be able to live my life on my terms, like travel when I want to, not have to ask for permission and all of that stuff. So I started looking at old journal entries, and one of the journal entries said like a bunch of ideas of, just business ideas that I could do. And at the very top, it said spray tanning. I was like, what is a spray tan? Like, what is this? I don't even know what like a mobile spray tan is. So I started researching it. I got a girl into my house that day to do a mobile spray tan on me. And it literally took 15 minutes in and out. I was like, this is the easiest thing I've ever seen. I like paid her $50 or something like that. And I was like, if I get this many people in a week, I can make this much and like, I'll be good, So that's really how it started. I invested my last $2,000 that I had in my bank account into equipment, online training, got trained, got certified, started spray tanning anybody that would allow me to spray tan them, including my mom, my boyfriend at the time. And then, finally, that's just how it went. That's how it started. And now I'm here 8 years later.
Yeah. Share with everyone now, because your life looks so different now. I mean, that's like a complete 180, like going from being scrappy, spraying your boyfriend in the basement to like now what you've created. So talk a little bit about like what your reality looks like, what you're working on, what projects you have going, what businesses you're operating, because you have several.
Right. So what was once just a mobile spray tanning business out of Corona, California, out of my mom's house, grew into me getting my license in aesthetics, grew into me getting my own brick and mortar salon, grew into building a team, starting an online training program called Spray Tan Class, hiring trainers to help me, and then eventually starting my own product line and doing events. So now I host events like Slay the Spray, which you will be speaking at this year in September. But basically, my goal now is to help others duplicate what I've done so that way they can create their own successful businesses, because I feel like that connection piece is where I thrive. Like I love helping other people. And I say that in like the most genuine way possible, because I know that's what everybody says.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's like your actions speak louder than words, right? So I do a lot of free value like content on YouTube, my podcast, all kinds of things. You do too, Sydney. So you understand, like we love to give. And because of that, I feel like just that energy has allowed me to build what is now a $750,000 a year business. And so I own Xtan Sunless, which is our e-commerce store, and we create sunless products for spray tanning artists. And we also have like self-tanning mousse and things like that for people who just love spray tans and self-tanning. And then I also have Spray Tan Class, which is my training programs with trainers and things like that. And then the last thing, I feel like there's so many. The last thing is Slay the Spray, which is our yearly event for sunless artists who are interested in getting in the business or growing their business in the sunless industry.
Yes. And I was thinking while you were saying all of that, as you were going through each thing, I'm like, I've really gotten to experience you in each avenue, because the X-Tan, the sunless tanner, I've used it, and I texted you and I'm not lying when I say I've used and gotten sprayed by hundreds of people and used hundreds of self tanners. And it is literally the best. If you guys are looking for a good self tanner, it is the only one that when it's coming off doesn't look like I'm a gremlin, like where I have like orange. It's amazing. So the formula is amazing. I've been hand sprayed by you before. Now we're getting to experience Slay the Spray together. So it's been so cool to watch you like grow and expand over the years. But what I think is really important that I actually don't know about you, I want to hear some of the harder times when you were in business, because we talk so much about like the glitz and the glam and the positives and how we started, but what were like some of those maybe like one or two monumental times in your business where maybe you wanted to quit, or maybe you felt like giving up, or there was cattiness or something like that was like a defining moment for you to continue to grow or to give up on your dream that you don't really talk about often?
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it's something that I feel like I need to talk about more. I always come from a place of like just wanting to inspire women and like, okay, this is what I've done. I know that you can do it too. But a lot of the growth does happen in those moments where you're just like, holy shit, what is actually going on in my life right now? And there are tons of moments, like every day there is a moment or a fire that we have to put out, something that happened. And sometimes it's multiple times a day. So it's not all glitz and glamour. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of different personalities that you have to deal with, which I think has been one of the more tougher things. But there are two things that come to mind when it comes to like the pitfalls in my career as an entrepreneur. One of them is more personal, which kind of delved into my business, but it was in 2018. And I don't know if you know this whole story, but I was previously married. And we had a very good relationship. He was like my Prince Charming, like everything to me. And I've never felt this way about another person. So he actually helped me with my business. He would travel with me to Slay the Spray tours. He would model for us. Like he was just a great partner at that time. And we ended up getting married pretty quickly because we just loved each other. And then, his dad ended up getting cancer. So we rushed the wedding. And once we got married, like things really changed. I started noticing just like differences in his behavior. He was sober when I met him, and he said that he just never drank or anything like that because he didn't want to become like his, family, and they had like a bunch of alcoholics and all of this stuff. So I took it for what it was, and at least what he was saying anyways. And we went to our honeymoon, and we were in Thailand. This was his first time ever leaving the States. And I ended up finding out that he was like a severe drug addict. which is why he was sober. I found him with like a bag of like literally 80 pills of mixed pills. Because if you guys go to like Thailand, if you've ever been to Thailand, you literally go to like the grocery, or not the grocery store, but like the drugstore, you can buy like Xanax and opiates and all kinds of stuff over the counter. They just sell it to you.
Wild.
Yeah. Insane. So obviously I didn't know that because I'm not like a drug addict.
Yeah. How would you know that?
Oh, so I was like, okay. But yeah, so when I found this out, we were literally in another country. My dad actually lives in Cambodia. So at this very moment, he was right outside our door, like meeting up with us for lunch. My mind was blown. Everything I knew of this man that was like sober and great, like he just wasn't that. He had a lot of secrets. So long story short, I found out that he had a kid that he didn't tell me about. I found out that he was a drug addict, and we flew all the way back. We cut our honeymoon short and we came back to the States, where he checked into rehab, and he ended up getting a girl pregnant in rehab who was married as well. So yeah, it's been an intense, like that was intense. It was 2018. I call it like the traumatic year of like the most traumatic year of my life.
I'm
Because it was
pretty
like,
sure that's the year I met you.
yes, it
Oh my
probably
God.
was. Uh-huh.
Oh my
Yeah. So that was all going on.
God.
I'm glad I can laugh about it now, because I definitely
Oh,
was
I'm
not laughing
sure.
about it back then. But anyway, so that really, really made me just sick. I was not okay. I was unwell. I ended up getting an annulment. I was told I would have to get like a lawyer. I was like, fuck that. I'm going to do all of this myself. I'm going to figure it out. So I was like Googling stuff, researching. And so I did the annulment by myself. I was granted the annulment by the judge. Thank God. And, I don't hold like much resentment towards him. I can't say like 100% okay, but I always wonder how he is and like how he's doing. And I hope that he's okay, because I know addiction is so hard. I know it's so hard. And I know that people don't act themselves when they are addicted. So while I'm like kind of like laughing about it and joking about it, it was a really sad situation. And but it was what has led me to starting like my events and really owning my own power, because it was in that moment, like once I started healing, I started realizing like I cannot give anyone my power. Like I can't give that away anymore. And it's been something that I've done throughout my life, especially towards men. So it was really in that, like I was crying so hard in my bathtub, just like hyperventilating and crying. And there was just like a moment where I was like, I have to live all out. Like, I can't just like do mediocre bullshit. Like, I have to live my life for myself and be authentic and like just do things because I want to do them, not because anybody else wants me to do it. So that year, thankfully, my business revenue like didn't go down. It was just the only year since I started my business 8 years ago that it was like stagnant. It just like stayed the same. But emotionally, physically, everything was hell in 2018 until like it wasn't anymore. It just took a little bit of time.
I think that's so powerful though, because, and a lot of people I don't think really realize this, but in your business, like your personal life and your personal situations that are happening, like everything affects everything.
Yeah.
And when your personal life and your relationships are codependent, or there's drugs involved, or there's, things that are out of alignment, like your business won't grow, or maybe it'll dip, or whatever it may be. And so it's like, you can't expect your business to just continue to grow if your life is a shit show. Like you really have to get your personal life in order as well. And I think for women, the message in that story, for me anyways, is like sovereignty in every way, not being codependent on a man financially, emotionally, where whatever he does dictates how you have to be or what you do next. And I think there's a really big wave of women who are realizing that and stepping into that, and actually realizing they don't need men. Like we like men around, they're amazing. And like, if they're not the right one, no, thank you, goodbye. We have enough to do because we're owning businesses, we're building brands. And I think that's a really empowered place for women to step into for the first time really in history.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I just did my ancestry. I don't know if you've ever done that
I've
before.
never done it, but I really want to.
It is incredible. So like my mindset over the last 2 months of just like diving into that has changed dramatically, because like I look at my previous, like, people in my family, like my ancestors, they were servants, they were butlers, they were limo drivers, they were farmers, like they were butchers, some of them couldn't read and write, like it's insane to see what they were. And what I take now, like I take responsibility for not only myself, but for the trajectory of where our family is going, because now we have a chance to say, yes, I'm making the decision to become a business owner or to do X, Y, or Z, or to live my life this way. And when you make those decisions, it doesn't just impact you, which is something I thought for a long time. It's just me. But no, it impacts your children, it impacts their children. And it's like a trickle effect through everybody that is going to live beyond you. So I think it's really important to remember that, because I don't think we own it enough, So I love that you said that.
And every decision we make or don't make, it gets encoded into our DNA, and that gets passed down, right? It's generational trauma after trauma after trauma. And then we take that on when we come into the world, and then we either decide to live into it or change it. And I think that's something this generation is doing a really great job of, is the personal work and personal growth and personal development to undo those traumas, or to undo those like DNA structures that we're born with. And creating like legacy income for the people that come after us.
For sure. And we have the power now. Like it's better for us than it ever has been at any other point in time. And when I say us, I mean entrepreneurs in general, but specifically speaking, like women, separating ourselves from what was the norm of like being under the male or being a housewife or whatever. And it just changes everything. And so that's why I feel like such a huge responsibility to be my best self, to show up so authentically, because this podcast episode, like who knows who's going to listen to it in like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. Like this is living, right? This is something that's like evergreen content. It's always going to be there unless you delete it, really, So it's important for me to be as powerful, as authentic, as genuine, as compassionate as I can throughout all the decisions that I make throughout not only my life, but also my business now. I just think of it so differently, but we're so lucky and blessed to be living right now and to be able to have those options for us. So
totally. Do you think having now a family and a child has changed that for you as well? Like seeing how your little guy like watches what you do and repeats or doesn't repeat what you say. Like, do you think that that's made an impact in that drive for you at all?
100 million gajillion %. Yes. Before I was doing things to just kind of do them without much of a strategy. And that worked for me like fairly well, I would say. But now I have intention. I have a lot more intention around what I'm spending my time on. And so I started going deeper in my work rather than wide, because I was trying to do all the things and be everything to everyone. And I realized like my ADD brain isn't serving me this way. So like I need to really dive in deep and focus in on spray tanning, because this is where my gifts are. This is where my audience, like this is what my audience wants to see. This is what I feel like I do best. And so going in deep has allowed me to save time, energy, money. It's allowed me to do things a lot better. And so I'm much more of a perfectionist in the sense of creating anything. Like I was telling you, the events, like I want it to be as perfect as possible. And it's incredible to think how much growth there has been over the last 2 years of like being pregnant and, having him and stuff. Because before, I feel like before baby, Kelly was super immature and just a completely different person, caring about like what people thought, getting hurt by trolls, like things like this. And then as soon as I had my baby, I had to make the decision, like, people aren't going to drain me. They're not going to like, I'm not going to allow them to take energy from me. I'm going to focus on the things that I want to focus on so those things can grow. And that comes in the form of like my content, my relationships with people, just the work that I do in general on a day-to-day basis, all of that stuff. So yeah, huge, huge change.
I even, just from knowing you from before you had him, I can even just tell this like confidence about you that you were always so confident, but now you're just like, you're fucking confident. Like you can just feel this like really, like you said, a peaceful feeling in you where you're so sure about who you are, where you're going. And it's like, you can't even deal with the haters because there's just no time and no energy to be extended there.
For sure. It's like almost, it's almost like a shield, right? Like I do a protective prayer every morning where I'm like, just protect, my loved ones, my family, protect the good people of the world. Like I have like this whole protection, like, I don't know, prayer, I guess. And so it's almost like this energetic field of like protection around me that I get to choose what I like decide to speak into. And I used to allow like things to trigger me so hard. And it would be like something from somebody I've never even met, or like something from somebody that wasn't even doing anything with their lives. And they're like just so upset, Um, and they just try to take it on other people. And so I always have known to like try not to let those things bother you, but sometimes it gets to a point where you're just like, what is wrong with the world? Like, why are you so mean? Because I'm just not like that to people, right? So feeling that from other people is just weird to me. And I what did my therapist tell me? She was like, you want to do what's right. Like you want things like, you want the law to be done correctly. Like you want
Justice for all.
justice. There you go. That's like, what is the down word? Yes, justice. Like you want justice to be had. And I was like, yes, that's it. And then not even just for me, like for other people, when I see other people getting bashed for no reason online, like I always feel the need to chime in. And sometimes I will, but I'm like, Kelly, choose peace, girl. Just choose peace and just don't worry about it. But sometimes it's just like so much, and it's, that person's not there to see. Like, I want to be there as an advocate for them because I know like what these people are saying is not true. But again, like you have to focus on what you need to focus on, Kelly, and like focus on the battles that really make sense for you to battle, which essentially isn't anything online and is my child. Like, what is he dealing with? How is he feeling? Like, is he okay? Is he living great? Those are the things that I need to focus on. And so with that, I think a lot of peace is brought into my life because of that.
I love that. And the mindset is so important. My therapist, he's a spiritual therapist, and he always says, you can either be right or you can be free. And I think it's exactly like what you said. Like you can either be right when you're fighting with the trolls online and give your opinion, even though they think they're right, or you can be free. And I choose freedom almost every time because I don't take advice from broken and happy people. And if that's their advice, they're broken and happy. I don't want I don't want their advice. I don't want to listen to them, but it's a muscle that it takes a lot because we take it so personally. We get 100 great comments, one negative one, or someone gets bashed. And we all want to focus on that 1%er that's miserable behind the screen that will never show their face, which is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. 100%. It's always funny. Like when I go to live events and stuff and like, these people who have been like a little weird online, like see me in person and, it's just like, I am who I am online, offline, whatever. I know in the depths of my soul, I'm a good person. I know that I make mistakes, but more than anything, I can like sleep very well at night, knowing I'm not screwing anybody over, knowing that I'm taking care of what I need to take care of. I'm taking care of those around me. I really care about the people that I surround myself with, like my close friends, my close colleagues, my family. And I care about my clients. Like I care about my clients, like they're literally like friends of mine. You know what I mean? So knowing that I'm doing the best that I can allows me to sleep at night and not have to worry about most of those people out there.
I love that. I think this is so great. And I can definitely vouch for the fact that even in your Facebook groups, I'm a part of your Beauty Business Babes Facebook group, and like you pour so much value into there. You're responding to every comment. You're so engaged. I mean, they're even in like policies area. It's like there's no hate in this community. Like you're so like strict in a really healthy way with like a really positive minded community where actually a community like that where everyone's offering the same service could
Yes.
get catty, and there's no cattiness. It's so clean in there and there's so much respect, and I think that's just a testament to like your standards as a leader in there and as a mentor for the women. But I would love to hear from you off of that, because I think there's probably going to be a lot of women who are spray tan artists or have a business in the beauty space that are going to be listening to this. How have you grown your influence and your following and your audience so big? You have over 20,000 followers on Instagram, like 14,000 people on the Facebook page. Like you have a really tight knit community of people. How have you built that? And what would be like 2 or 3 tips you'd give people who are just starting out in their business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's definitely hard work. But I think a little bit of luck as well is what I always say. Like I worked my ass off. I learned so much about marketing, about sales, about becoming a business owner, about scaling. Like I'm obsessed with learning. And so that would be my number one tip would be become obsessed with learning not only just the technical part of whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's lashes, hair, whatever, but being a successful business owner means putting on your business hat and actually understanding like what marketing means. They don't teach that in school, right? So like that's
No.
something that you have to literally go out yourself and become obsessed with. A lot of people make the mistake of focusing on being the best spray tanning artist, like learning all the tricks and tips. I'm here to tell you that like you could be a mediocre spray tanning artist or even like lash artist. And people will come back to you because they love you, but they're going to find you because of your marketing skills. Unless you already, for some reason, have like this large following, which I don't think many people already have or have handed to them. So you really have to learn about marketing. The second thing I would say is that you have to find the avenues that work for you. So I started off doing Facebook and YouTube. Those were like the two things that I really focused on. And I was consistent AF, like super consistent with putting out content, even though it was mediocre. Like it was, if you guys look at my YouTube channel, spraytanclasstv.com, look at my very first videos. Like I want to puke.
I recommend doing that too, you guys, because I have this all the time with the women that I work with as well. It's like, no, I want you to go back, not to watch me, but to see that I have not always been like this.
Yes.
And that will give you, if you're listening and you're like, well, I'm not like Kelly, go back and watch her first video and you will have more motivation and inspiration than any motivational video could give you.
It's cool. Like I do this for YouTube creators or influencers or whatever you want to call them. Like I'll go in and I'll look at their old videos because I'm so curious about their progression, because I know that they didn't just wake up one day with like beautiful hair and makeup all the time. It's so bad, you guys. Just go look and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'll link it here. I'll link the video to her first YouTube video here.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. But like I thought it was great back then, and I knew it wasn't perfect, but it was okay. And so that leads me to my third tip is that you have to take action and not worry so much about perfection. I only started becoming a perfectionist like after I found out I was pregnant, because I was like, I want to spend as much time with my baby as possible. So like I need to make sure that when I'm working, I'm doing things right, so I don't have to go back and fix it or whatever. But beforehand, I was like doing all of the things and trying to figure everything out. And so a lot of my branding was just awful. My videos were awful. My podcasts, I'm sure, were awful. I haven't listened to them in a long time, but you have to start somewhere. So you have to let go of being that perfectionist, because I feel like my perfectionist friends, like they're geniuses, I swear, but they don't do anything because they're stuck in this space of like, oh, I have this idea, but I can't execute it or put it out there because I don't have all the steps or it's not perfect yet. And so you're really holding yourself back when you don't put stuff out there, because those videos that I made years ago are still producing sales and they were shit. So
Yeah. It's so true. And just starting. Like if you feel like you want to start on YouTube, you don't need all the camera equipment. Get your phone out, like
yes.
stand in front of a window, film
Yeah.
something, add value. And we all started that way, right? But it's consistently doing it. Like you said, she didn't just show up that one time and then post it and then cringe and then not do it again.
For
Kelly,
sure.
you continue to show up day after day. I mean, you show up every day, every
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah. And I attribute that too to being like, again, obsessed. Like, I swear I am obsessed with what I do. Like, I
Yes.
freaking love it. I love seeing your face. Like, I love connecting with women. I love talking about this stuff because I truly, genuinely like want someone to listen to this and be like, I didn't give up because of them, or I started because of their story, or whatever the case may be. Like, my whole purpose here in life is to not only change the trajectory of like my own family, but also to help others do the same for theirs. And I know, Sydney, like that's you at your core too.
Mm-hmm. And having that why and having that drive, that's the only way you can be obsessed. If you
Yeah.
don't have like the vision board and all of it in front of your face all the time, and your goals and the people you're working with and whatever capacity you work with them and the targets you're wanting to hit, like my wall to the left of me, if I could show you it, it's insane. It's just, there's all my goals, all my visions, all my dreams, all my targets, like everything. And it's always in front of my face because I know that if it's not, I'll
Yeah.
lose that level of obsession. And
Yes.
so it's so important to keep it in front of you and keep it visual in your house. And if people laugh at it, like, so what?
Whatever.
Who cares? Who cares? They won't be laughing in a couple of years.
For sure. Absolutely. I love that. And I also make like my passwords, I always make them my financial goal.
Yes, me too. I'm like, people are going to know how to get into our computers now,
Right.
but
It's always changing. So that's good.
exactly. It's so true. And it's an obsession. But okay, so that's my question, because some people have like a negative association with the word obsession. Do you think there's only a certain amount of people that have a healthy enough relationship with obsession to go after their goals? And do you think that's why people aren't successful, is because they literally aren't obsessed with it and they just kind of want it?
That's such a good question. So I would say yes. Like, what I see in my life when I work with women, I can usually tell right away if this person is going to be a freaking go-getter and like do whatever it takes type of person. Those are my people. Like, those are the people that I genuinely like love to help. And not to say that I don't love the person who's like still kind of like a little bit not sure about it, but I think the people that already have it in their mind that they're going to make this happen, like they have that belief that they can make this a 5 or 6 or 7 figure business. Like, without that belief, it's really hard for me to try to help people get motivated, right? So these people that don't have another option, if they don't have a plan B, like they become obsessed because they see the vision, they have the belief, and they're not going back to corporate life. Like, that was me. That's why I had this like innate fire of like not even wanting to sleep. Like, I didn't even need to sleep because I was so hungry to not live my life the way that I had been living it, because I wanted to travel and I wanted to be able to make as much money as I wanted to and have the freedom and all of this stuff. So to answer your question, yeah, I do think that people um, don't really thrive a lot of the times in whatever industry they're in because they don't have that, like, they're too comfortable maybe. They don't have that like innate, like, I need to make this work so bad.
There's no hunger. And I find that the people who usually start out the hottest and the most successful, and it almost becomes habitual. Like once you're back, like for me, my back was against the wall. I was like, I have no money. I
Yeah.
am very young. I got to figure out something, or I'm going to be on the street next week. So like back is against the wall. So if you're successful in an industry and you're trying to get into building your own business, or even if you're successful in your business, like you've got to find a way to like hypothetically put your back against the wall and
Mhm.
find a new thing that drives you into that hunger and desire for whatever you're trying to create. But once you see it and you feel it and you taste it, it like becomes an addiction to be hungry for that because it's fulfillment. And if you're comfortable, you're probably not getting a lot of fulfillment in what you're doing.
For sure. Absolutely. And I do think that there is like a healthy and unhealthy way to do this. Although I would say that for me, especially in the beginning, it was leaning towards more of the unhealthy side. And
Yeah.
that came out in the way that, I would like burn out for days, literally days, girl. I'd be in bed for like 1, 2, sometimes even 3 days. And I knew that I didn't know what burnout was back then, by the way. I was just like,
Yeah.
what's
It
wrong with
wasn't talked about.
Yeah, never. So I was like, what the hell's wrong with me? Why am I like wanting to sleep all the time? And, sometimes your body just like needs what it needs. So I do think that there is an unhealthy way to be obsessed with something. However, I also believe that if you're taking care of yourself and if you're not hurting anybody in the process, I don't see a problem with you being overly obsessed with your
Yeah.
business.
And I think there's the healthy level of obsession puts you first. It puts your health first, and it puts your, it doesn't put you last. It puts you first in the fact that you can still go take time to get a massage. You can take time to rest, and you can take that day off every week. It doesn't mean you have to work around the clock 24/7. We were actually just talking about that. Once you have some leverage, once you've diversified like you have and driven several things 10 feet deep, you can take more time to yourself. You can sleep in if you want once in a while. And that's, I think, the goal for everyone to get to is where you can have that healthy balance with it and still be really driven by what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the goal for most people is to live a life of freedom, right? Like I know I keep on bringing up that word, but like the freedom to choose where you go, who you hang out with, what you do, where you travel to, how you spend your money, how much money you make. Like those are all the things that I want in my life. So now 8 years in, I was telling you earlier, I finally have built a business where I have a team of really, really solid people that allows me to not work in the business so much. And I can work from literally anywhere in the world. And I don't have to work more than, I don't know, like I hate to say it because it's like, it sounds so like little, but like I don't have to work, but like a couple hours every week now.
Yeah.
Um, I do work more because I do love it. And I do things like this because I absolutely do love connecting with people. Otherwise, I'd be like in my house all day. So, there comes a point in time where it's like you have to have that vision, but also like bring in the strategy to be able to have your ultimate goal because you want the $1 million. Why? Because you want to be able to travel, right?
Right.
So, like, you have to be able to have the time and energy to travel. So, sorry if I'm going on a tangent right now, but
Right.
essentially building out your business to fit the root of whatever it is that your goal is, if that makes sense.
I love that. I feel like I want to have you back on at some point because I'm like, I want to talk about so many different things, but we'll probably be here for 3 hours. I'm not going to do that to you. But for someone who's starting, I just think of spray tan artists because again, I think that's, I mean, probably for both of us, quite a bit of the listeners. Um, if they're just starting and they're getting like, do you find a lot of people come into a business and they want to be like you? So they're like, okay, now I need to create a physical product. I'm 2 weeks in and I need to build my network online and I need to do YouTube and I got to do, what are the main things to focus on? Because what I know is if you can drive one thing really deep to start and then build on top of that, you're going to be able to scale properly. And that's what you did really well.
Mhm.
But is that an error that you see in people's processes? Like what advice would you give to someone like that so they don't burn out, so that they can really build this in a sustainable way?
Absolutely. And I think it goes back to like authenticity, right? So figuring out what are your gifts? Because for me, my gift is like sharing, being on video, talking to Sydney, talking to other people, like getting their stories out there, that's my gift, right? Some people are terrified of video. So if you're terrified of video, like, of course, I encourage you to like kind of expand a little bit and try it out. And maybe you will fall in love with it. But if it's something that you absolutely don't have or don't like, you don't have to do it. I think a mistake that I see, and I talk about it a lot, is the copy and paste. Like people literally copy and paste what he, she, it, or they are doing because they feel like, oh, if she did it that way and she became successful, I too can do that. I've been really selective over the things that I've done over the last, especially like 2 years, because I don't want to fall in the trap of just following somebody's lead where like our personalities aren't even the same, what she likes and thrives in is something that maybe I don't, and vice versa. So you have to really go back to yourself and think about, how can I make an impact right now? And what vehicle do I have to use and focus on to be able to do that? So whether that's like social media on Instagram, or whether that's going to networking events in person, however that looks for you, I think you have to really, really dive in deep and think about, like, genuinely, authentically, what do you want to do to be able to express whatever it is that you're trying to express through your business or for your business.
I love that advice. And I think it's really hard to like block out the noise on social, right? You and I both talked about how like we just got to get off of it a couple days every week. And it's really important to get still in not watching what other people are doing and getting caught up in that. And I love this quote I heard a few days ago. My friend actually said it to me, and it was, if you didn't know how it was already done, how would you do it? And I think that's a really great way to obviously take advice from people like yourself, from people who have the results. And like, if you didn't know what it looked like to be on social media and to make content, like, what would you want to talk about? What would you want your message to be? And those questions are really things that you've got to sit with and journal out and figure out. And that's what you've done so well. And now you know your lane, you know your audience, you know your niche. And the only way you can do that is really by like sitting with yourself, which some of you guys who are listening probably have a hard time with, like turn off the music, turn off the podcast, and sit with yourself and figure out what it would look like if you did it any way you want. Because guess what? You can. You can, and then you can gather the information and tools from people like Kelly who have done it and are giving you all of that information for free. And then you can use that and integrate it in your own way that's still you, because people are buying the person, not the service, because they can go anywhere for a spray tan service.
For sure. And just like one thing that pops up too is just, say if you are creating something that is similar to her or him or whatever, you need to make sure that it is different and unique in your own way. Because a ton of people have tried to do like spray tanning solutions, for example, or online courses, for example. And like, there was just nothing, like they literally would copy and paste what I had on my website on their website. And there's just nothing that separates you from that person. And I think where I did really like what I did really well was finding my own unique gifts and figuring out how I can infuse that into, say, for example, an online spray tan training program, because I took like a basic one, right? So I was like, how can I duplicate this, but twist it to where it's going to be my own and also attract a certain type of clientele. So because of that, and putting in more marketing and business strategy inside that online training course, we've done so well over the last 8 years. So I'm hoping that, whenever you're thinking about doing like an idea or a business or something, like you always find your own way to present it.
I love it. And it's so true. And again, in the beginning, like you can take pieces and copy and paste until you know what your style is, but don't let that become your style, because that's where people just become copycats. It's inauthentic and it just doesn't work. And that's why
not sustainable.
No, and you've been so successful because you haven't done that.
Right.
You stand out.
Yep. So that's I think one of the key things, and like one of the things that I share with my students all the time, and anyone that I'm talking to that's an entrepreneur, like you have to figure out your thing. So important.
Oh my God. I love this conversation. Okay. I don't want to keep you too much longer. The time's gone so fast. The last question I have, I want to talk about Slay the Spray, and then I want to have you share where everyone can find you, and we'll put it all in the show notes. But let's talk about the event that you're hosting in September.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So this has been something that I've done for a couple of years, and obviously like 2020 kind of put damper on that, but going into this year, 2022, we are having the biggest event that we've ever had. It's 150 women all around the world that are coming to Florida, Fort Lauderdale to be exact. And I'm so excited because we get to play around on the sand, in the beach, which I love so much, for 3 whole days and even more. I'm going to be there for a week, actually. So it is geared for anyone who is interested in getting into the spray tanning industry, or anybody that's in the spray tanning industry that wants to elevate. in the way of networking, marketing, business, technique, and things like that. So it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to have amazing speakers like Sydney helping us with money talks, money motivation, and money mindset. So we're going to have so many different variations of people coming in. We have Kimber from Borboleta. If you guys are familiar with her, she is a badass. We have Sheila Bella, who's from Pretty Rich Bosses. We have my friend Grant Kay, who's from Happy Tans, and a whole list of really amazing speakers and sponsors that are going to be at the event. So I'm just excited to hang out with everybody. We have like DJs, lights. It's like I was telling you earlier, it is a vibe. Just put it that way. It's like a vibe the entire weekend. And it's not like you're a regular, like stuffy, like conference. It's very fun, but it's also really impactful because, especially this year, we're bringing in so much mindset work, in between speakers and stuff like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
Yes. And you guys who are listening, we were talking just briefly about the event before you came on. What I want to say about you, Kelly, is that you care so much about making this event special for everyone. And I really want them to know that because like I said, there's so many people you can feel if they just throw an event together with like no direction, no intention, no details, but it really is those little things that you're putting into play so behind the scenes that no one will ever know. No one will ever even see. And that's what makes an event so impactful. But what I will say is every event I've ever been to has changed my business so insanely that it literally, I always accredit like 99% of my success to going to live events like this. And that's one of the reasons that I'm like, yes, I want to be there, because being in a culture like that, doesn't matter if I'm a spray tan artist or not, I get spray tan. So I'm going to be calling a few of the girls to give me one while I'm there, but it will change your life because it'll change not just your business skills and your marketing skills and the people you make connections with, but it'll literally change your mindset and reframe the way you think about business, the energy of your business and the money mindset of your business, all of those things that make a really good cocktail of a business. And that's what I'm really excited for at your event.
And I think one of your gifts, Sydney, is like you have this incredible way to network with people, to connect with people. And for you, someone like you, who's like so like extroverted and so sweet and amazing and nice and like inspiring, like people gravitate to you just like naturally, right? So these events not only are all the things that you just mentioned, but also like meeting those people. I mean, that's how I started my product line, was like going to a live event and meeting people that way. Never thought in a million years I would ever have a product line. Now we have like a full on product line that's on Amazon and all of these things. So for anyone that's ever hesitant to go to any live event, I always question if they know how powerful and impactful it is. But I also know that like I myself am a little bit of an introvert. So like, I think a lot of those people are just kind of scared, they don't know what to expect, or they're just a little bit nervous to meet people. But I think once you open yourself up to the possibility of meeting whoever and having these doors, cracked open for you, like it just is an exciting thing. And I hope that everyone at some point in their life gets to experience that and gets to experience the miracles of meeting other people that way.
I love it. I love it so much. It's true. It's just like a big warm hug when you go to an event like that because everyone's so positive. And if you're an extrovert, you can just say an air hug. It's no contact. But no, I'm so excited. So, okay, so where can everyone find you? I'm going to have you back on the podcast probably like after the event. But where can everyone find you? I know there's so many different areas, but where are the main places?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time in the Beauty Business Babes Facebook group. So if you just search on Facebook, Beauty Business Babes on Facebook, you can find me there. And then I also have a podcast, Beauty Business Babes, as well. Other than that, I'm on Instagram at @Iam_Kelly Ann. So if you guys ever just want to pop in and let me know you listened to this and let me know what you loved about it, I would love to hear from you guys.
Amazing. Kelly, thank you so much for your time as always. I love you. You're one of my great friends now. And I'm so glad that I can say that about you because you're such an incredible person.
Thank you, girl. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Bye, guys.